Hey everyone, another 3 months have passed, so let's go over everything I picked up during the months of January, February, and March to start the year of 2023. Just like all the other videos, the vast majority of the games were bought used at thrift stores, although I did try out using eBay for a couple of items that I was specifically looking for. I'll also be opening up to 3 boxes from Retro Game Treasure for those months as well. Just quickly, if you're unaware about Retro Game Treasure, it's a subscription service that sends video games right to your door. I am a subscriber, they did not send me anything for review, they have no idea that I'm making this video, they have no influence over what I say. I'm also going to be using pricecharting.com to check out the prices of the games sent from Retro Game Treasure, and every price you'll see will be as of March 23rd, 2023. So with that out of the way, let's check out what Retro Game Treasure sent me for the month of January 2023. As for my preferences currently, I have most Nintendo home consoles as well as Xbox One and PS4 as they are relatively new to the service and I want to see what type of games they'll give out. And first off, we have a sealed copy of Watch Dogs Legion for the PS4. Even though it's sealed, it's not in the best condition. There's a sticker on the plastic wrap that refuses to come off. At least it's not stuck on the case itself, and the sticker won't be an issue whenever I do decide to unwrap the game and play it. I'm not crazy about getting sealed games as I probably won't keep them that way anyways, but at least I know the disc should be in perfect condition. Second, we have a sealed copy of 8 to Glory for the Xbox One. I have never heard of this before, and it looks to be a bull riding game of some sort, which is not something I'm really interested in. But just because I have no interest in the sport, doesn't mean I should dismiss it right away. But I will say, it's probably not going to be very high in my backlog of games to try out. So if I do decide to keep this one sealed, at least it looks to be in pretty good condition. And to end the box, we have 007 Nightfire for the GameCube. The front of the case looks to be in okay condition, but the back just looks terrible. Not only is the plastic all torn up, but there's a Blockbuster sticker underneath the case and stuck directly onto the back cover art. I know certain businesses did this to help prevent theft, but it's pretty frustrating for someone who prefers to have things in better condition. If the sticker was on the case itself, it would give me the option to switch it to a better case, but with it being on the cover art itself, it prevents me from doing that. It's also a shame that this copy of the game is also missing the manual. However, the important thing is, this is a game that I'm interested in playing. As for the disc itself, it looks to be in okay condition. Some scratches, but I definitely own games in much worse condition. Now, this is usually where I would open up the games and check out the boards, but this is the first time in roughly 2 years that I didn't get a cartridge game in the box. And since 2 of the games are sealed, there's only 1 game to test since I'm going to keep them sealed for the time being at least. So here you can see 007 Nightfire playing and it runs just fine. Gameplay wise though, it's pretty weird playing something with this older control scheme, but I'll get used to it eventually. The game currently has a value of $15 American or $20.51 Canadian. As for the 2 sealed games, Watch Dogs Legion has a value of $8.96 American or $12.25 Canadian, and 8 to Glory is valued at $17 even American or $23.24 Canadian. Next, we have the box for February 2023. For this 3-month span, I did decide to keep my preferences the same the entire way through. And, first up, we have a small Kirby plush. I am okay with toys as it's a preference you can select, but if you're not okay with getting them, then be sure to go through all the preferences on the website and just make sure that the right section is checked off. I do have it in my preferences that the toys are okay as long as they're officially licensed, and while there is no Nintendo seal of quality anywhere to be found, which has been on other toys they've sent me, there is a Nintendo and HAL Laboratory copyright on the tag, so that does make me feel a little bit better about it. And just for reference, I would say the toy is about half the size of a smartphone. Next, we have a loose copy of Pro Wrestling for the NES, and it's a really clean looking cartridge. It's not perfect, but there's no major rips or tears in the label, so that's pretty good. I'm a big wrestling fan, so this is nice to have, but I also know it's not really the best wrestling game out there, so I don't know how much I'm gonna actually play it. Next, we have a sealed copy of MotoGP 17 for the Xbox One. I don't know much about the game as I'm not really into racing games unless they're completely over the top, but I don't own a lot of games like this, so I suppose it's not bad to have 1 or 2 in the collection. And finally, we have a sealed copy of Terraria for the PS4, and it's the PlayStation Hits version of the game. That's another 2 more sealed games, and honestly, I'm not someone who really cares if a game is sealed or not, as I'm not really that type of collector, so I might have to adjust my settings just a little bit. This is a game that I actually have for the PS Vita, but I've barely put any time into it, so this just gives me a good reason to give it a real shot. I have heard good things about it, I just haven't given it a proper chance yet. Next, let's open up Pro Wrestling and give it a test. I actually had a bit of an issue getting the game to work, so when I opened it up, I gave the pins a quick clean and then it turned on perfectly fine. The gameplay is rather basic, but it's essentially what I expected. Again, it's probably not going to be something I play very often. Finding the value for the toy is a little bit unreliable, so I'm just going to skip it. But Pro Wrestling for the NES goes for $9.71 American or $13.27 Canadian. As for the 2 sealed games for the month, MotoGP 17 is valued at $13.52 American or $18.48 Canadian, while Terraria on the PS4 goes for $14.55 American or $19.89 Canadian. And since I'm going to be leaving the 2 games sealed for the time being, there's nothing to test, so let's go straight into the box for March 2023. First up, we have another toy. This time, it's a Boo from the Mario franchise. It's actually a bit bigger than the Kirby one, I would say around the size of a Nintendo DS case, but I don't want to get too many toys instead of games, so I might have to change that preference too. Next, we have a loose copy of WWF Warzone for the Nintendo 64. This is actually the N64 wrestling game that I've played the least, but it's definitely more up my alley when compared to Pro Wrestling for the NES. The cartridge itself is a little dirty, but most of it looks like it can be cleaned off. There is also a dirt mark on the label that can be seen in the right lighting. It's annoying, but it's nothing that is going to frustrate me too badly. Next, we have a sealed copy of Shaq Fu: A Legend Reborn for the Xbox One. This is a game that I've never really heard good things about, but it's something I've always wanted to play anyways, especially because it should be a beat 'em up and I typically like that genre game. I just think the concept for the game is hilarious and it's something I want to experience, and now I can. And to end the box, we have Metal Gear Survive for the PS4. The case looks to be in okay condition. There's nothing majorly wrong in terms of a chipped or broken case or anything like that, and the disc itself looks fine. It's not in perfect condition, but I'm sure it'll work perfectly fine. I don't know if there's supposed to be a manual with it or not, as games in this generation typically stopped shipping with them. Overall, the 3 months weren't terrible, but I don't think they followed my wish list of games very closely this time around, which is a bit of a shame, and getting toys 2 months in a row is something I would rather avoid in the future. Opening up WWF Warzone, the game looks to be perfectly fine, and testing it, it turned on the first try, so no complaints here. The gameplay mechanics is a little different from the N64 wrestling games that I grew up playing, so I'm not that great at it, but the gameplay is perfectly fine and that's what matters. Currently, WWF Warzone is valued at $5.41 American or $7.40 Canadian. I also gave Metal Gear Survive a test and it worked on the PS5. I didn't get too far into the game yet as I mostly played it just for testing and it's a bit of a long intro, but the graphics look good and the gameplay was smooth from what I played. Metal Gear Survive is valued at $7.60 American or $10.39 Canadian, and the sealed copy of Shaq Fu: A Legend Reborn is valued at $9.97 American or $13.63 Canadian. And finally, I also noticed I didn't give a good look at the toy, so here's a little close-up without the plastic wrap, but I didn't find a reliable standard value for the toy. And there we have the 3 months from Retro Game Treasure, but there's still the regular pickups from the months of January, February, and March of 2023. Now, if you remember from a previous video, I talked about being pickier about what games I buy, as I'm starting to look less at having a large collection and more at picking up games I specifically want. So this section is going to be a little bit smaller than previous videos, but I think some of the games are going to be a little bit more interesting. So let's start off with PlayStation. For the PS2 through eBay, which is a method of buying games I used to shy away from, I picked up a complete copy of Ratchet & Clank Going Commando. At the thrift store, I managed to grab complete copies of Infamous 2 and Batman Arkham City for the PS3. Here we can see Ratchet & Clank Going Commando and it's playing just fine. You might also notice I'm no longer filming my TV as I'm capturing footage properly, which is a big step up in my mind. I managed to get a composite to HDMI converter, and while it's not perfect as it stretches the aspect ratio, I think the quality of the footage is still a big upgrade from my old method of just using my phone to record my TV. Hopefully, you prefer this method as well. Next, staying with PlayStation, I found 2 separate PS3 demo discs, which I decided to pick up because they're a little bit more unique of a find, as well as a sealed copy of Uncharted: The Nathan Drake Collection for the PS4. Now, the issue is that the wrapping is definitely beaten up. While it is technically sealed, there's holes all throughout the wrapper, so it definitely doesn't have the value of a properly sealed game. Moving on to Microsoft, for the Xbox 360, I found complete copies of Army of Two, Ryzen 2 Dark Waters, and the Walking Dead Telltale game. They all look to be in pretty good condition, as being pickier about what games I grab also means looking for better condition stuff as well. Here we can see the Walking Dead Telltale game playing, and it plays just fine. I'm honestly not big on The Walking Dead, and I haven't seen most of the TV show, but I do have a rough understanding of the plot. I have heard that the game is extremely good, but I'm typically not big on Telltale games either, so I decided to pick it up solely based on the word of other people saying that they really enjoyed it. Staying with the Xbox 360, I found complete copies of The Witcher 2 Assassins of Kings Enhanced Edition and Transformers Fall of Cybertron. Both of these games are in excellent condition. Here we can see Transformers Fall of Cybertron playing, and it was a pretty enjoyable time for the short gameplay session for testing purposes. I had no idea this game existed, but I think going forward it's going to be placed towards the top of my backlog as I'm curious how the rest of the game plays. Moving on to the Xbox One, I picked up copies of Destiny 1, Battlefield Hardline, and The Division 2. I don't usually see too many Xbox One games at the thrift store, so I usually try to jump on those opportunities to grab them when I see them for a really good price. I tried out Battlefield Hardline, and it wasn't at all what I expected. I had heard of the game before, but I always just assumed it was another military shooter, but to my surprise, it wasn't. It played decently well, and the opening levels were pretty good, but I was just really caught off guard that it wasn't a military shooter. Next, heading over to Nintendo, at the thrift store, I found Big Brain Academy for the DS, and it's a complete copy. And using eBay, I found complete copies of Mario Kart Double Dash and The Legend of Zelda: The Wind Waker. These are games that would probably surprise a lot of people that they weren't in my collection already, but they're games that are rarely found out in the wild unless you want to pay a premium price for them. Using eBay, I was able to keep an eye on multiple different listings and pass on the ones that were out of my price range, but I did find these at prices I was comfortable with, and I'm really happy to have them in my collection. And finally, to end my pickups, these are the seal games I managed to get during the 3-month span, as I got Sonic Frontiers for the Xbox Series X, as well as Kirby Return to Dreamland Deluxe for the Switch. I also got a pre-order from months ago as my copy of TMNT Shredder's Revenge from Limited Run Games finally showed up. This is a game I've played through countless times on Game Pass, and it's one of the few games I bought with the intention of keeping it sealed. 20 pickups. Pretty small when compared to some of my older videos, but I think the quality in the games is superior to a lot of those videos, which to me is how I plan on building my collection from now on. I think it's worked pretty well, and I hope I can keep finding good games at good prices. My local used game store is extremely overpriced in my mind, so hopefully using eBay will allow me to find some of those games that have eluded me the most. And there we have it, 3 more months from Retro Game Treasure, and all the pickups I managed to get during the months of January, February, and March of 2023. Let me know down below some of your favorite pickups recently and where you found them. I'd love to know how you build your collection. If you enjoyed the video, be sure to hit the thumbs up. It really helps out a lot, and it helps other people find the channel. If you're new here, don't forget to subscribe for more video game related content. If you missed what I picked up during the last 3 months of 2022, then be sure to click on this video right here.